next guest today is Candace Eubanks. So welcome to Good Day Paris, Candace.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes. I'm excited to hear what you're going to share with us about goal setting.
Yes.
That is something that we all need to work on. So just share with us a little bit about that.
Ooh, open there.
Yes.
Well, I think, New Year's resolutions, everybody starts them and they kind of fade off, and we start them again the next year, and we keep going. And I think one of the things that y'all have hit on already that is a theory of mine in working with people is that we are a holistic being. We are a spirit, we have a soul, we live in a body. And I think it's so important to start those goals by looking at a holistic approach. Right. And whether it's an attitude change or a relationship goal, and most of the time, like was said, it's, a physical, but to match that up, and I think starting with kindness and curiosity, that's what I encourage, and just start from those two places, because if you're starting with comparison, comparison is the thief of joy. Yes. And then if you compare, you're doing it from the outside in, not from the inside out. And so setting goals, I think it's important to start those from the inside and to know that you're doing that. Because if you start it from the inside, then you have something to deposit in the other people in your life, the people you encounter, and just the light that you want to be in the world. So looking at that, making it achievable, making it something. If it's a lifetime goal, then you don't have to do it in the first 3 months.
Right.
Just be easy, be kind to yourself, be curious about when you fail, don't be contemptuous, and be a friend to yourself. And I think, when Jesus told us to love others as we love ourselves, I think that is so under-focused on, and to love God with all of our heart, but to love others as we love ourselves, and we don't practice that.
No, we really don't. Isn't that funny that we seem to, especially mothers, we're taking care of the kids, we're taking care of our husbands, we're taking care of our parents sometimes, and others, but we don't necessarily take much care of ourselves. That could become an issue, because then that becomes the norm.
Right.
You leave yourself out. How is it with you?
Yes, it's the same way. I've had to learn some of those things that you're already touching on, not comparing to other people, and having time by myself with the Lord and with things that are changing my mind and heart, so that I have something to give out from the inside. Something to share, not being all dried up on the inside where I have nothing left to give.
You can't write a check without making deposits.
That's right.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
Right. Yes.
And I think the other thing too is real important to look at is y'all have talked about the importance of the gut health and looking at our body, and then as she covered, the stretching and starting to feel your body, and working with trauma a lot. Bessel van der Kolk, he's famous, anybody could look him up, as far as he wrote a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And our body holds everything. Everything.
Yeah, it does.
So it's so important to pay attention to that. And in habits, our brain, we used to say 21 days, change a habit. How many books were written on change a habit?
Right.
Well, the neuroscience now shows it's 3 cycles of that 21. So we're looking at 63 days.
Wow.
If you can consistently do something for 63 days, then you're more likely to reprogram. And you deconstruct old neural pathways, and then you build new ones. So that's another thing to remember. Your body, it's called the homeostatic impulse. Your brain's going to push against you, because your brain wants to go back to that familiar.
Yes.
And it's like you start fighting yourself. So not beating yourself up, not being contemptuous, taking it slow, looking at attainable goals. Those things work well with your brain too, not just your heart. And so it's real important to match those. And I think accountability partners, not to compete, but I think encouragement from another human being that gets you. They don't have to be on the same path, but they just get you. They love you, they get you. They're encouraging, and I think that's important.
If they're encouraging, well, that's something I have said so many times. We need to be accountable. People don't like to be accountable. And when I've tried to do that with others, they're like, hey, get away from me. Don't hold me accountable. Because I guess it's our general nature to want to just do whatever feels good, do it. Whatever we think we want to do it. And if somebody holds you accountable, it's like, hey, go away, come back when I'm in a better mood. So that is a really hard thing, but it's very important.
It is.
It's so important.
And the communication ahead of time, like, what do you need from me?
Right.
What are you giving me permission to say and do? Kind of role play a little bit with that.
Yeah, right.
Wait till you're irritable and then ask me, and then, okay, I get a feel for it. I get what it's going to feel like 2 weeks in. So I think that's important too, just that assertive communication and saying, hey.
Right. Role playing is very important. I used to do that with a team I worked with when I was in management before I retired, and it was perfect. It was so wonderful when you had that open communication and everybody could just come and clear and tell you what they were feeling and what was happening. It makes your day so different because now you're empowered with the knowledge of understanding where that person is and how they feel and how they're looking at this and what they think of you. I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
It is.
And not too many people play that game in life.
No, because we don't like being vulnerable, but vulnerability is a good thing.
It's a beautiful thing because then you're really true. And I mean, what do we love more than truth? The Lord is all about truth, but so many of us really aren't very truthful, always putting up a facade or a face or, an attitude, something. And boy, I'm going to come see you too.
That's right.
I'm going to be busy this year.
Some of my favorite people in my life are the ones who are gut honest.
Gut honesty.
Who walk in my office and just say whatever it is that, and I know that they do it because they love me. And
yes,
and they these people, yes. I know there's some that don't. Yes, I do. But there's a few that I know they really do care about me, and they don't mind saying whatever it is I need to hear, and confronting me. And honestly, that can be encouraging.
It is.
Yes.
Knowing somebody cares enough to say what you need to hear, and help you get back on the right path.
And learning to do it for yourself. I think that's what's important in the goal setting is, can I be curious and kind and speak truth to myself?
Yes.
Without the condemnation and the shame.
Now, what are some ways that you would say as a professional that we could be kind to ourselves? What do you see as something?
That's a good way. I giggle because it's the question if we could record what's in our head for a whole 24 hours and just post it up there on the wall, a little slideshow, I think we would see that our self-talk is one way.
Self-talk and know what to say when you talk to yourself, right?
And listen, and not from the habit self, the brain, but really to listen, to really pay attention.
I probably need a lot of help with that. That's probably an area where I'm always thinking of others or other things, and I'm not really focused. And when I talk to myself, I'm angry, I'm disappointed, and I might go into anger. Now, some people say it's because of the way you're raised or whatever, but I think it's because there's not enough discipline for me in that area. I need better discipline of myself, and I might actually not know how to do that. I might really need some instruction, and I would never be afraid to admit that because nobody knows everything.
Right.
Nobody knows it all, and we need each other in this life. And I think a lot of times people think, oh, I've got this, I can do anything. But then we do it wrong,
Right.
So we really do need each other and help and some guidance. And that's really interesting that you would, say all that.
Yes.
It's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah.
I agree with Sandra Bullock and Hope Floats, though it does all go back to our childhood.
It does go back to our childhood.
A lot of
I have
stuff
been
goes,
told that.
Well,
yes.
Our brain is like a laptop, and so, your archetype style is learned by 7. So a lot of your foundational coping skills are already there. So it's not to go back. We don't go back to relive. We go back to release. And I think that God wants to heal all of our story this side of heaven. And I think a lot of the things that we do out of habit self come from just the non-conscious just being in that habit self, not really slowing down to think about it. Where did that come from? It's like Brene Brown says, what's the story you're telling yourself in your head?
Right.
Yeah.
That is a great question.
So it's a journey.
It is a journey. It's not an
a
event.
very personal journey.
Yep.
And we
Definitely
need to
not.
understand how to walk that journey.
Yes.
You know.
And so,
Yeah.
how did you get into doing this and helping people in this way?
My story. My story. It's how we all come to. Yeah. Our story, I think, tells our path, and it was a lot of pain, a lot of heartache, and led me to that. Probably first in a codependent way. My trauma response was fawning, which is people pleasing and fixing, almost to the point of that Enneagram 2 in me was controlling, and so I got into it from pain, and then God just worked on my story, and then I love people. I do love people, and I love I got the greatest job in the world. I get to see people heal and love themselves and get free, and so that's how I got there, pain. But
That
why I
is so
stay is the
true.
glory. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's what matters is we all have pain, trauma, things that are going to happen in our life, and what are we going to do with it?
Right.
Are we going to let it be a place that we're used
Or drag it
then after
along
we
with
learn
us,
from
the
it,
heaviness
to help others?
Right.
Or are we going to get better, or are we going to stay bitter?
Right.
I know
Right.
that's a trite little saying, but it's so true.
But it is.
Right.
It is
You know.
true. It is true. And the pain is actually motivation. I think that, God uses all things, and without the pain, we wouldn't question. We don't learn anything by doing it right. We learn it by doing it wrong and keep
Absolutely.
going. And so, in setting goals and looking to the new year, I think every year should be a little bit of that reflection time to just say, all right, God, show me what's still in my story that is impacting my decisions and my attitude and my behavior today that, I'm not aware of. And it's not to keep you stuck. A lot of times counseling gets a bad stigma because you're like, why do you want to go back and talk about that stuff? Well, why do you want to keep carrying it forward in that sack you're carrying it? It's that backpack.
It's heavy.
So we just want to lay it down. We don't want you to stay there. We don't want you to park there. We don't want to park in our pain. We want to heal. I want to heal. God wants to heal all areas, I think.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yes.
Everything. I don't want to leave anything undone.
Yeah.
So
And that's why, as people come to see you in counseling, as you're able to work with them, it's like you said, it's like peeling back the layers of an onion. You might find something else that, oh wow, now that I'm good here, but
yeah.
let's deal with this now. And that's a good thing. I mean, that's a great
That
thing.
is a great thing.
Yeah.
If it was good enough for Jesus to remind us to do it, then I think that journey should be part of our lives daily, like brushing your teeth or setting a New Year's resolution or
Right.
yeah.
Well, you deal with a lot of things, that's for sure. I mean, there's a full agenda there.
There is.
People's lives are so intricate. And is it hard for you to draw people out as you're working with them, or does it all just come gushing out?
Well, counselors are human.
Yes.
So we can be very messy some days. Some days it's easy, and I tell people anybody that's ever seen me, they'll tell you the first thing I say is, you came into this room with your answer inside you. It's not my job to give you your answer. It's your job. It's my job to encourage you and consult with you and walk with you. But sometimes consultation doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So it's I think in the setting that I'm in, people come of their own will, and I think most of the time people have some kind of idea and they're ready. And
They have an agenda because of one thing. You think most people come to get help when one thing has really blown up.
Yeah, and it might just be the straw that broke the camel's back or whatever.
Right.
Saying. But it's most of the time the counseling that I offer is brief solution focused, but it can be longer. I tell people don't number the sessions, don't do that. It's how you are experiencing your own growth. Because
Right.
99.9% of what you do while you're in counseling to heal something is done outside of there.
Right.
It's to empower. We've used that word a lot, empower. I think, it was used with the yoga and with what you guys were talking about with the weight loss. It's empowerment.
So do you also have groups that gather, or do you just meet individually?
I do participate in group therapy is my favorite. It's my first love. If you ask me, like I was holding on to the door for him, like, God, I'm never going to do individual, and he's like, yeah. But I love group, and some of the work of Andi Kobler. She has a book called Try Softer. It's one of my favorites. She's a Christian therapist, and she has a guided journal with it. And there are groups sometimes offered for that, and that's kind of a thing that's after you get involved, and because group has to be safe.
Yeah,
and you want to make sure people
Definitely.
are safe there. So, but group is excellent.
Oh,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I bet
it's beautiful.
it is. Wouldn't you think that it would help somebody seeing somebody releasing something and they're thinking to themselves, oh, I would never do that. I would never say that. But because somebody else did it, now it's opened a door for them and it's created a path out of their hurt.
Yes.
Just watching somebody else do it. I've seen that in counseling.
It is.
I've done a lot of biblical counseling with
Yes.
people,
Yes.
50 years of being in church. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
It is.
It's
And
a wonderful job you're doing with people.
Thank you.
It is, and it's not
beautiful
easy.
to see it. No.
That is not easy.
No. So I want to review what you were saying then about the goals. You said, start back, you said it takes about 63
Three.
days. All right.
Another one of my neurocognitive people I love to turn to is Dr. Caroline Leaf, and she has a lot of books and research out there, podcast. But the science shows now that the reconstruction of a neural pathway, because that's what a habit is. It's up here. It's not in here.
Right.
It's up here. And so to deconstruct, like if you were going to take a building and deconstruct it and reconstruct it, it takes time, and that is 63 days in our brain. So don't even get mad at yourself for
Right, exactly.
for like 63 days.
And so the goal, do you suggest that people write them down?
I think that's wonderful. Yes, I do agree that journaling and writing, visual, whatever learning you have, but there is something. Our hand is connected to our heart, and I'm not typing, writing. Yeah, writing it. So writing it out.
And would you say focus on one goal or one goal per area, or
and I think that's different for everybody.
How would you want to do that?
I think that's different for everybody. If you had to say, well, just pick one, Candace, I would say start with one. Okay. Start with one. Just look and do some the baby step. And I think she was talking about that with the yoga. Get up and do this stretch and then build. And she said starting with a bottle of water.
Yep.
That was how I started my journey of healing. I started with a bottle of water every morning.
Okay.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
so,
And then how do you teach people then to stay on track?
Well, it's situational. I know I get it all. It's situational. I mean, you just walk with them, and it's those baby steps. And staying on track means that's where the kindness and the curiosity come in. Be kind. If it's a bottle of water every morning for 63 days, and that's what you choose, and that's what you get done, that was progress.
It was, exactly.
And then you can get to getting on the treadmill and going to the gym. But if you get up and you start a morning routine, His mercies are new every morning, if you start that, that's where you can start building.
Yes.
Excellent.
That's huge. Exactly.
I just have to ask this one last question. Do you see more men than women?
No.
So it's equal, huh?
It's probably 35% men.
Oh,
65%. I mean, it just depends. I see couples sometimes, so that's counted different. But women are more likely to come.
Yeah,
I was that's
thinking,
in our society. I don't know, that might be totally different. Like she was talking about the difference in bigger cities. That might be totally different. But no, men to me, males in our society, in our culture here, tend, when they get it, they are way more committed. They are way more committed.
They have quick success and they're more committed. It doesn't seem fair.
because they're bottom line thinkers. They go right to the issue and deal with it.
They're like, I don't want to stay in here forever.
Women are kind of,
let's get,
Yeah.
No.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. And
that's really great.
We have, I believe, some information on how people can get in touch with you.
Right.
Yes. All right.
There you go.
Yes.
So that's a real long.
Well, it's a Psychology Today page, and if you just type in my name in Paris, it'll pop up, and it gives you some information. And then
but it's Renew Counseling.
It's Renew Counseling, yes. Romans 12:2. Let's not Let's be.
And are you on Facebook as well?
No, I
Okay,
wish I was,
so
but I'm not.
You'd have to just go to her Renew Counseling, and it's PLLC@gmail.com.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
gosh,
Just give a call,
Candace.
email. You can do it through that Psychology Today or just direct.
Right, and your number is up there, the 731-592-1987.
Yes, ma'am.
That's my
Okay.
favorite verse.
Yes.
Candace, it is. I love that. That's
yes,
awesome.
yes, awesome.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you so
for
much
being
for
here.
having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
And it's so nice to meet you.
nice to
It
meet you.
Nice to
is.
meet
This
both
has
you
been
and
wonderful.
Mika.
I
Yeah.
look
Thank
forward
you.
to talking to you.
Thank you.